Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to Apply. All right, so today my guest is Yaniv Gidron, and he is the co-founder over at Money Finance. Yaniv, welcome to the show.
Hi, Adam. Thanks for having me. Really excited to be here.
All right. So for our long-term listeners, you know that I've been working on this FII priority series and really just covering what's going on at the FII Institute. It's been a lot of fun. I met so many great people. How this all started for me was I attended my first conference at FII in Miami, and I was hooked. So far, I think I've done maybe over 20, 30, maybe 40 interviews with just different people that I either met or was connected with over at FII Miami. Correct me if I'm wrong, Yaniv, because I know we cover quite a bit of conferences for FII in the Institute. Were you at the Miami one?
Yes, exactly. So I was at the Miami one. It was actually my first time attending as well, Adam.
Oh, I love that. I love having a
Yeah.
first timer and a newbie because I'm a newbie too. So we have a shared experience there. How was it for you? Like, talk to me a little bit about that as a first time attendee.
So it was an incredible experience. The way I actually made my way to FII was funny. It was through two very good friends of mine, David and Alexandra, who are based in Miami, and they've been
Mm,
attending FII for years. They told me how important it would be for us, for myself, to be part of it as a co-founder of Money Finance, to meet people who could either inspire us or be inspired by our fintech. It was exciting to meet so many like-minded individuals, pioneers, risk takers, global leaders, all deeply engaged in building the future of finance,
mm.
AI, and digital infrastructure.
Now, not obviously not talking negatively about anyone else or any other conferences, but what made this one a little bit different for you? Like, because for me, it was different. I cover conferences all around the world. I meet lots of great people, but this was a little bit different. What made it different for you?
Well, I found it energizing overall, the conversations around the topics that are of interest to us, to myself. Again, I say us, myself, and my co founder because we're really passionate about what we're doing, but everything around AI, blockchain technology, reshaping everything from asset management to capital markets. And what really resonated with me was how closely they aligned with our mission at Money Finance as our digital securities platform, what it is that we do. It sort of reaffirmed exactly why we're building what we're building. And, as we were both you and I exposed to what Saudi Arabia is doing, positioning itself on a world stage as a serious leader in AI, blockchain, and decentralized technologies. Yeah, that's what attracted me to it. That's what made me that's what I found interesting overall over the
Mm.
course of the 3 days.
Let's go a little bit further with some of the time we have here. I want to get into money finance. So maybe tell us a little bit more about your company, why you started it, the thesis behind it, like what needs you're serving. Like, give us a little bit more on money finance, please.
So, well, first of all, a little bit about myself. The way I found my journey to money finance was shaped by lifelong passion for finance. I've always been fascinated by how geopolitics and technology shape market behavior.
Mm,
And that curiosity followed me into a 13-year career in banking,
mm,
where I had a chance to work across several business lines and ended up in private wealth management, where I was fortunate to see how traditional finance operates and where it falls short. And then my co-founder Vinay and myself, we started watching the whole digital asset space very closely around 2016,
hmm
when things were still very early in the space. As the ecosystem matured with the rise of centralized exchanges, we call them sexes in the industry, and a somewhat more liquid secondary market, we gradually started trading and more actively. And even then, what stood out to us was how much more efficient and transparent the underlying infrastructure was compared to traditional finance. And since then, it's been amazing to watch the amount of innovation pouring into the space, and it's really reinforced a lot of our early convictions we had about where this industry is headed, right?
mm,
And then that experience sparked a deeper dive into blockchain or distributed ledger technology, as they say, DLT. And it became clear to us that this wasn't just an emerging trend, but a fundamental shift that would one day
hmm
transform the entire financial infrastructure as we know it. We saw it as a once in a generation opportunity to rewire capital markets.
Yeah.
In terms of settlements, we saw settling trades in minutes across borders with full transparency, being a huge contrast to the days-long settlement cycles, siloed data, friction we constantly encountered in the more traditional space, the traditional finance space. So that's how money finance was born, with the mission of bringing real-world assets on chain in a way that's compliant, efficient, and inclusive. We're focused on bringing these RWAs, real world assets like treasuries, private credit, and funds onto the blockchain in a way that's compliant, efficient, and accessible. And because we're starting up, we're not building on top of legacy systems. And thanks to our agility, our focus, and the developments we've seen both on the regulatory and tech side, we're now able to open up global access, enable instant settlement, and deliver real transparency to everything around ownership. It also allows us all the other benefits, fractional investing, lower costs, 24/7 markets, basically things that traditional finance can't offer as of yet. So for us, it's really about modernizing how assets move and making high quality investments available to a much wider audience in a responsible manner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit more about how this unlocks opportunities both for retail and institutional investors. Like how does this unlock more opportunity?
So we believe that it's actually a very good question. We believe that tokenization of real world assets is one of the most exciting shifts happening right now in finance because it's not just about digitizing assets, it's about rethinking the entire infrastructure and how it works. We're seeing that traditional finance is still full of friction, long settlement times, limited access, as I said, siloed systems, and just simply legacy systems. And it just doesn't reflect how global and real time the world has become, right? Tokenization changes that, and we believe it does. By putting real world assets like treasuries or private credit on chain, we can offer faster, cheaper, and more transparent access, all while keeping things compliant. For institutions, this means more efficient operations, real-time settlement, improved liquidity, and for retail investors, it opens doors to high-quality investment opportunities that were previously just out of reach. And think about being able to invest in a wide variety of tokenized treasuries, bonds, or funds from anywhere in the world with as little as a few $100s. That's a pretty huge shift, right? When it comes to in our perspective. Now, the thing is that regulatory oversight and safeguards that institutions need and regulators love, while still being able to get the speed and the flexibility that comes with this technology. This is all built on a permission-based blockchain, which basically brings the regulatory oversight, as I mentioned, and safeguards. It provides a secure and compliant platform for accessing tokenized real-world assets and bridging that gap between traditional finance and the emerging Web3 ecosystem. We're basically building the rails on permission-based blockchain to support institutional scale and retail inclusion. It's not just about transforming finance, it's democratizing it and doing it in a way that's built for the future. I know I said Web3 many times, Adam, but just to highlight to all my curious neophytes out there that the big shift from Web2, which is where we are today, to Web3 comes down to two things: ownership and control. And in Web3, users, they own their assets directly. So that's creating a big shift in the way that we're going to transact when it comes to dealing with financial assets. You still need to respect the legal frameworks. And that's why regulators, such as sanctions compliance, anti-money laundering, and investor protections, and that's why regulators are getting involved.
Yeah. How do you see that landscape of regulators responding to the rise of real-world asset tokenization? Because it's not going away. I mean, at this point, it's obviously, I think that's pretty understood. The market's maturing. How do you see that landscape?
Very good question. Yeah. So regulators, they're in it because it's not going away. As you said, they're increasingly recognizing the transformative potential of this technology. We're seeing a clear shift from cautious observation to active engagement. We've seen this in regions like the EU with the introduction of MiCA, or markets in crypto assets. They're setting global benchmarks by creating legal clarity and framework for tokenized assets. Similarly, jurisdictions like the UK, Singapore, and the UAE, which right now actually in Dubai, where token 2049 is happening right now, they're establishing regulatory sandboxes and issuing pilot licenses as well, encouraging innovation while maintaining strong oversight. At Money Finance, we see regulation not as a barrier, but as a foundation. That's why we've intentionally chosen to launch money fintech in a regulated jurisdiction first, starting with the EU, the UK, and then moving on to the UAE, so we can build the business with the right guardrails from day one. Our strategy in terms of regulations is to gradually obtain cross-jurisdictional licenses, allowing us to expand globally in a compliant and scalable way. And this approach gives both institutional and retail investors the confidence that they need, that what we're building is here to last. It's trustworthy, it's transparent, and built to fit within existing financial systems while pushing them forward.
Mm.
Ultimately, what this means for the future of finance is that tokenized assets aren't staying on the fringe, basically. They're being pulled into mainstream, and we need to work in collaboration with governments, which are starting to shape the path forward and pave the way, not just follow it. We're already seeing encouraging signs. Established institutions, big names, and even government bodies are starting to issue digital treasuries and tokenized money market funds. And that's a strong signal, not just of interest, but of real adoption. It shows that regulators, central banks, and financial institutions are beginning to see the clear advantages of this technology: faster settlement, increased transparency, lower operational costs, and broader access. And for us at Money Finance, that kind of momentum is validating. It reinforces the fact that tokenization isn't just a niche innovation anymore. It's becoming a core part of the financial future.
Mm-hmm.
And as regulation catches up, we're positioning ourselves to help drive that transition in a compliant, scalable, and global way.
Amazing. Yaniv, first off, it's been great having you on the show today. If somebody wants to follow up and learn more about money, how do they do that?
Best thing is you can go on our website on www.money.finance, money, MONEE.finance, and you can get all the information about our business. You can even sign up. You can go in, you can go through a KYC and have access to our marketplace.
Perfect. And for everybody listening, just so you know, we'll definitely put the links in the show notes so you can pop on over and take a look at what Yaniv is working on. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day, we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way on your journey as well. So again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And Yaniv, thanks again for coming on.
Thank you very much, Adam.